The Tale of Rupert and the Underwater Forest. Long ago, or perhaps only a moment ago, for time flows strangely underwater, there was a place where sunlight shimmered like silver dust, and tiny currents hummed soft lullabies. It was the birth of the little underwater forest called Tyloria. No one saw who shaped it. No one saw who dreamed it. It simply began. First, the ground appeared, dark, gleaming quartz pebbles tumbling into place as if a gentle earthquake whispered them into shape. They rolled across the land, settling into hills and dips, forming a soft, shadowy floor that sparkled faintly whenever the light brushed past. Next, the stones rose. Great rocks pushed themselves upward from the deep, stretching their rough, ancient backs into the new world. Some lay low and calm, their surfaces warming under the drifting light. Others huddled close to the earth. A few tilted toward one another, creating narrow little corridors that seemed to promise adventures yet to come. Then, from the darkness beneath the pebbles, the trees began to grow. Their trunks twisted upward in graceful spirals, bark smooth and bent like the arms of dancers. Some leaned from the left, some from the right, but all of them arched inward to form a grand passageway, a natural arch that looked as though it had been waiting 1,000 years for someone brave enough to explore it. Then, as if waking from a long dream, the forest began to bloom. Soft emerald moss began to appear, sprouting from the ground in gentle puffs. It crept over stones like velvet blankets. It nestled around the trees like tiny green clouds. Slowly, it wove itself into a perfect carpet, a mossy meadow that stretched through the entire forest, glowing a warm, welcoming green. More plants awakened next, rising from the quiet earth as though answering a secret call. The first new growth to awaken was a cloud of the finest, feathery leaves drifting upward like a soft green mist rising from the forest floor. Its delicate fronds swayed with every gentle current, giving the young forest a dreamy, whispering breath. Soon after, a scatter of tiny round leaves appeared, each one no bigger than a pebble and shining like little green coins. They nestled close to the rocks and roots, forming clusters of cozy hiding spots for creatures yet to come. Next, a very small plant appeared, its narrow land-shaped leaves stretching outward like tiny green arrows pointing in every direction. Though it hugged the ground closely, it gathered itself into determined little clusters that filled the quiet spaces between rocks and roots. Then came a bolder kind of plant, stretching upward with leaves shaped like elegant textured fans, half fern, half star. These curious leaves spread themselves in arching layers, adding wild, adventurous shapes to the growing forest. Together, these early plants curled around the stones, filled the open spaces, and wrapped the tree's roots in gentle greenery. And as if the forest took a deep breath, the trees crowned themselves. Round, leafy canopies burst into existence, unfolding into plump green cushions that swayed ever so slightly in the current. Their round shapes bobbed gently overhead like umbrellas made of soft foliage. Each canopy caught the drifting light, scattering it into sparkles that danced across the forest floor. With every new sprout, the young forest grew richer, brighter, and more alive, as if eager to show the world all its shades of green. Then came the shimmering, a soft, rising glow, a widening, wavering light, and suddenly, without a sound, the whole forest filled with water. It didn't fall or pour. It simply arrived, sweeping through the trees with a gentle whoosh, settling into every corner like a warm blanket of life. The leaves rustled under its touch, the moss rippled, the rocks gleamed brighter. Tyloria was alive. And deep within it lived a small hero, though he didn't know he was a hero yet. His name was Rupert. Rupert was a young southern platyfish. Not that he knew such a name, of course. To him, he was simply Rupert, a small orange fish with a bright, round belly and 3 perfect black spots on his tail that formed a shape he was very proud of. Some said the shape looked like a tiny mouse with 2 ears. Rupert thought it looked like a badge given only to the bravest explorers. He lived with his cheerful family beside the big tree, whose spreading roots and arching branches made it the heart of the forest. They swam in warm spirals, played chasing games through the roots, and nibbled on drifting crumbs carried by the gentle currents. But Rupert was curious. One morning, as silver light drifted through the forest, Rupert decided it was time to explore. He had seen the same roots and leaves every day, and he wondered what else the forest might be hiding. He gave his Mickey Mouse tail a proud flick and swam off. As Rupert glided over the mossy carpet, he noticed something bright, impossibly bright, moving across the ground. A tiny creature, glowing like a ruby. Rupert swam closer. At first, he thought it was a walking gemstone. "Hello," Rupert chirped. "Who are you?" The tiny red creature lifted its antennae with elegant importance. "I am the red sakura shrimp." Rupert blinked. "That sounds magnificent," he said. "It is," said the shrimp, scooting across the moss. "I tend this carpet. I eat tiny bits and pieces and algae and keep everything clean so the forest stays beautiful. Rupert watched the shrimp pluck microscopic morsels from the moss. "That seems fun," Rupert said. "Can I try?" "You may," the shrimp replied, stepping aside politely. Rupert dipped down and pecked at the moss. He made a face. "Yuck! That tastes like soggy spinach." The shrimp giggled. "Not everyone likes algae," it said kindly. Rupert sighed. "I guess I'm not a carpet cleaner." "That's all right," said the shrimp. "The forest is full of different helpers." Rupert swam on, a little disappointed but not discouraged. Soon he heard splashing, joyful splashing, colorful splashing. A whirl of swirling fins darted into view. Guppies, bright as rainbows, quick as sparks. Their tails fluttered behind them like shimmering veils. "What are you doing?" Rupert asked, mesmerized. "We're dancing," exclaimed a yellow-tailed guppy, spinning in a loop. "We brighten the forest with our colors," added another. "Come dance with us." Rupert tried, he really did, but the guppies were too fast, their rhythms too quick, their sparkles too dazzling. Soon, Rupert was gasping, worn out from all the swooshing. "I can't keep up," he puffed. "That's okay," the guppies chimed. "You don't have to. Dancing is our gift, not yours." Rupert waved goodbye and swam onward, tail drooping just a little. Deeper in the forest, Rupert found something strange stuck to a tree trunk. A rock? A bubble? A sleeping creature? "Hello?" said a slow, gentle voice. "I am Shelford the snail." Rupert gasped. "You're wearing armor." "This is my shell," said Shelford proudly. "It keeps me safe. I clean the trees and stones as I travel." Very slowly. Rupert watched him glide forward in the slowest motion imaginable. "Do you ever go fast?" Rupert asked. "This is fast," said the snail. Rupert tried licking the tree the way Shelford did, but it tasted woody and weird. "Blah, I don't think snail work is for me," Rupert admitted. "That is quite all right," Shelford replied. "The world needs slow helpers too." Rupert gave him a grateful nod and continued his journey. Finally, Rupert swam all the way to the forest's edge, where the world grew bright and wide. He gazed into a shimmering wall of light and saw himself staring back. A small orange fish, a curious face, a Mickey Mouse tail flicking brightly. Rupert stared into his own eyes. "I've met so many amazing creatures," he whispered, "each one different, each one special, each one doing something important." The shrimp cleaned the carpet. The guppies danced. And the snail polished the wood. "But what about me?" Rupert wondered. "What am I good at?" His reflection shimmered as if smiling, and Rupert suddenly realized, "I'm the explorer," he whispered. "I'm the one who wants to see everything, meet everyone, understand every corner of the forest." He remembered his family, warm, playful, joyful, and his heart glowed. "That's who I am," he said softly, "Rupert the explorer." With a flick of his tail, he turned and swam home. And As the forest shimmered quietly around him, Rupert knew his greatest adventures were only just beginning.